I know this might ruffle some feathers, but it needs to be said. Some Christian women have made getting married their gods. Not intentionally, but let's be honest, it's become the goal. It's become this obsession. It's become this thing that we think is gonna finally make us become whole, make our life become complete. And I get it, because I was that girl. But let me give you 8 reasons why idolizing marriage is keeping you stuck, frustrated, and missing out on what God actually has for you. I found for some reason that my desire heightened once I started going to church from a very young age. Because I don't know if it's just me, but I honestly don't remember being so obsessed pre-Christian life until I became a Christian. There was just this obsession to find the right person. And nothing wrong with wanting to get married if you're mature enough and you feel it's the right thing for you. Do you, boo? But I just found that sometimes in the church, there's so much emphasis on getting married and less of enjoying singleness. I would even go further and say less of showing you how to enjoy singleness. Like, they don't talk about those things. If the people who are the ones sharing God's words are married, now they could probably share an aspect of it. A lot of things are not like years ago. There's a lot of factors to this. It's just that they're not a representation of single people. And yes, they can share biblically like how singles are supposed to live, but there's something about personal revelation. And if you've been not single for over 30 years, it's very hard to share that perspective. So most likely it's not going to get spoken about. Like, unless they're single and they've experienced it recently, it's very hard, I find, for them to go even deeper into singleness. Because do you really remember? If you've been married for 40 years, 50 years, do you really remember what it was like to be single? You'll probably remember some things. It's nothing like if you're in the moment, and that's why I say that we need more single leaders in the church. Unapologetically, there needs to be more single people rising up and doing the things that God calls them to do. Because if we continue to sit back and feel like we're timid or we have to wait for that person to walk into what God calls them to do, or feel like we have to wait for that spouse so then now we could start doing all the things of God, oh, we're way behind. There's people out there that needs to see the example so then more people can rise up. So there's that domino effect. So they see more singles doing what God calls them to do. So then it inspires someone else. But the problems that I'm seeing is you're usually seeing couples rise up. And nothing's wrong with that because they have their own God's plans. But why is it only couples rising up? Why is it only married people rising up? Why is it only married people in a leadership role? It's like if you're only letting people in relationships rise up and be on fire for God, we're missing the point. This is what I'm tired of. I'm tired of seeing single people sit in the sidelines while they're just fawning over someone who's getting married and wishing they can get married. And then they sit back and just don't do nothing. They sit back and don't do what God calls them to do because they're busy waiting on that person so they can hit start. And I want to see less of that. I want to see more singles rise up, and not just seeing married people rising up, not just seeing married people going for what they want. Because the thing is, what if you don't get your spouse now? Are you telling me that you're going to wait 50 years and press pause on your life before you actually start? There are people who have lost their identity, especially in marriage. Their relationship has become their identity. And it's almost like if you don't get married, that's it. People have let getting married become their identity, become who they are. People who been wanting to get married has let that become their identity. They've let it become their compass and forgotten who they are. It's come to the point where if they don't get married, that's the end of everything. The world has come crashing down. It gets to the point where you just don't know how to navigate. Beyond thinking, oh, I need that person to find to get married. So therefore, I can then be sold out for God and in church, but it's a complete opposite. What makes you think that if you're not sold out being single for yourself, like for you, that you're gonna be sold out when you get married, when you find a person? If anything, it's gonna get harder because now you'll have more distractions. And when I do see single people have so much potential, all of a sudden they'll find someone, which is awesome. But then what I see most times is then they stop coming to church. Their walk with God just goes backwards. Then you don't see them anymore. It's like if you find a person, it's not time to step back, but it's time to put your best foot forward. And even if you don't have someone, this is not the time to sit on the sidelines and watch everyone do what God has for them. It's time for you to step forward and do what God has planned for you. I can't tell you the amount of women I've seen where they're just waiting and they just get so obsessed with it. They get so focused on it to the point where they just get depressed and they get frustrated with God, maybe even mad with God, because they're like, why am I getting this? Meanwhile, God is doing other things in their lives where they miss it. They can't see it because they're just focused on that one thing that they don't have. Unfortunately, church culture has created this whole environment where it's like, if you're not married, you can't live out your full-blown purpose. You're not as significant. You don't have the authority to do certain things because you don't have a partner. You don't have a husband by your side. So therefore, there's certain things that you can't do. You can't be this united front. And that's so unhealthy. The church culture has created this environment where they've created this unhealthy belief. If you're not married, you're not significant. You can't make any impact. In order to make some significant impact, you have to be married and have a partner by your side and do it as a united front. You do not need someone to make impact. You don't need to be married to make impact, especially if God is calling you to do something. But I've seen it. This is something I used to always question because I used to be like, why is there only married people in these leadership positions? Like, why don't you see single people? Like, why don't you see this as a representative friend? And I think there's a lot of factors to it. It could be like the church beliefs, or it could also be just that there's not a lot of single people stepping up. There's not a lot of single people rising up to be in those leadership roles. They're focused on other things. They're distracted. They're not focused on the right things. Church culture has created these beliefs around women just feeling very displeased with their life, feeling like it's not complete until they have someone. And I'm here to tell you that's not true. It's created so much isolation and loneliness. That's all they're focused on. They're not focused on making friends. They're not focused on being social. They're just focused on that one thing. Every time a new man comes in church, everyone's just like, oh my God, is that my husband? That's all you're thinking about. It has also taught singles, if they don't get married now, there's something wrong with you. At least you feel like that. There's all these beliefs that's created because you see someone else get married. Like, it's created this feeling like, okay, well, something's missing because everyone's getting married, so there's something wrong with me, so something's missing. If I don't get married, there's something wrong with me. It's created this culture where they're asking you, oh, why are you single? And it's like, sometimes I want to be like, well, why are you married? If that's the only thing that you need to accomplish, it's caused women to miss out on so many things, so many of the beautiful things of life, because of that one focus of, oh, I just need to find someone. It's caused so much unhappiness, so much unsettledness. People just don't feel settledness in their heart. They don't feel settled. They feel so unraveled because they're like, well, God, I want that one thing and I don't have it. And then they forget about all the other things. There are women who are married and still broken. Marriage doesn't fix them, but we don't talk about that. It just covers your wound. That's it. They treat marriage like it's some closed chapter, it's some fairy tale. But really all it does is it opens more cans of worms. It opens more wounds, especially if you have not dealt with it while you're single. It just magnifies the things that you are running from. So if you felt lonely when you're single and you did not deal with it, you did not learn how to be in your own element, how to be in your own energy, guess what? When you get married, it's not gonna fix it, because you know why? You're still you. You're still your own individual, and you're gonna still have that person and feel even lonelier. So if you always suffer from loneliness, confusion, always trying to figure out what you want to do, feeling secure, insert whatever thing that you're dealing with now while single, it's just gonna get magnified when you find that person. And these are just from stories that I've heard, because I'm single, but these are just from talking to people who are married. If you're not dealing with it then, and I'm not saying you have to be perfect, marriage is not this problem solver. It doesn't solve all your problems. Maybe it could solve financially, it could solve certain things, but it just doesn't solve all your problems, especially if it's internal. things that you have to work on yourself. And a lot of these things that I'm sharing is just things that I've just noticed like in church culture. And it doesn't mean that the church is bad, but it's just things I've noticed, like beliefs and what people do, just talking with people. It's just certain things that has developed in the church culture that I always question, where I'm like, why is this like this for single people and versus married people? There's a whole church culture, and this is everywhere too. It's not only church, but I've seen it. When someone gets married, they get celebrated, and I get it. It's a milestone. No one was celebrating me when I was single and started my business. Like, there was no uproar in the church when I started. I just believe that if we celebrated more of what everyone was doing, single or married, not just like celebrating when someone's getting married, but actually celebrated milestones while people were single, I think it would just change the viewpoints of people. If you're just picking and celebrating certain milestones, that's how all these beliefs starts, right? Where you feel like there's something missing, there's something wrong with you. Like, what is milestones for single people? You could launch a business, launch a book, pay off your debt, but if you're not married, it's like you're still waiting. Why? Why are single people stuck in a waiting mode if they are planning their life and they're doing what God has for them? There should be a thing where we're having purpose celebrations, debt-free dinners, milestone celebrations. That would be such a breath of fresh air, and it will increase the standard. It would change the outlook on how people see things, whether you're married or single. It made me think, the reason why you see a lot of women in healthy relationships is because when a woman is celebrated and gets married or engaged, it's when they get noticed, when they're the center of attention. Everyone's so happy for you. So then when that's not happening for you, then you're feeling left out. And let me be real for a second. Some of us have more of a passion for the idea of being a wife than being a disciple. We've confused the calling of God with the desire of just being chosen by a man. It's like Jesus didn't just say, just go get married and just find a man and just that's it. He said, go and make disciples. So let me ask you this. If God never gave you marriage, would your purpose still feel valuable? Would you still feel enough? Would you feel like something's wrong? Something's off? Would it relate to too much hurt? Feel like something's missing? There's just so many questions, right? You maybe got to a point where you're like, okay, God, why am I here? Why am I still here? We've gotten to a point where we've just idolized this milestone of getting married and forgotten the true purpose of just being a Christian. The true purpose of why you're truly here. It had me at a point where in my Christian walk, it's like marriage was just put on this pedestal. Like, shoot, I remember being 16 and wanting to get married because I was like, oh my God, I just want to meet the person and just have lots of kids and that's it. Because all I was seeing was people getting married. And I know why. I wish I'd seen more examples of people who were single and just running after God and seeing more examples like that. But the thing is, it's not like they're not there. They're not being as magnified as when someone's about to get married. Because by the time I got in my mid-20s, I honestly felt like there was something wrong with me. And I was like, why am I meeting the person? I had all this timelines. You know how it is when you're younger. It didn't go with those timelines. Like, those timelines were thrown out the door. And I believe this is why you'll see some women jump into relationships, because they're trying to fit a mold. Because that's all they're seeing. That's all they're seeing that's magnified. Especially if there's a lot of pressure that you're putting on yourself. It's going to lead to some type of compromise, and that is so dangerous. Because once you're put in that situation where you feel like you need to make it happen, you want it to fit a mold, you're going to make decisions that you wish you didn't make. I would even go further and say, don't get so focused on fitting the mold that you miss out on what God has for you. Don't make the things that you don't have your focus. Focus on the things that's already around you, that's already working for you. Make plans, accomplish your goals, and let the things that need to happen naturally. As you're working on your thing, let the things that's going to happen, but don't force it to happen. And you're not running out of time. I got so programmed with seeing life through the lens of when I get married, I was so unhappy with life. And I was in this ongoing cycle of just trying to find someone. I was like, oh my God, I just want to get married. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. I just want to have kids. Thinking that's all there was. Have you ever said, and let's be honest, when I get married, I'll travel. When I get married, I'll start the business. When I get married, I'll start working on my purpose. How many dreams have you paused because you've been waiting on a husband? I started thinking like this because the people who I saw who were getting married didn't have much going for them. What's wrong with that? Because you can still build after marriage. And I saw that and I was like, okay, so when I get married, I'll just start doing the things that I need to do. But really the right time is now. It's not when you get married. It's not when you have that imaginary date. It's not when you meet that imaginary person that's not even there yet. The time is right now. It's not putting your life on pause and then pressing play once you get married. It's about pressing play now and continuing to build your story while you're single. You still have chapters while you're single. The chapters don't start coming only when you get married. There's still a chapter right now in your beautiful story while being single. And hey, if you come across milestones along the way, that's completely okay. It's expected. But we should never pause our stories at any point of our lives. Never pause it. What if the life that you're building right now draws the person who is meant for you right now, who is meant to find you in that exact way? And I'm so glad because now there's more understanding that God delayed that part of my life, because I got to see that there's a whole lot more. Like traveling, learning new things about myself, learning to be my own energy, learning to just be single, learning to get over loneliness, learning to rollerblade. And then something that I've been doing recently, and it made me think, oh my God, like this is so fun and liberating. How have I not done this? I've discovered things I may have not otherwise discovered if I was just married and had 10 kids in a picket fence. There's so much about life that you haven't touched yet, that you haven't even seen yet or imagined. We have to get out of that culture where we're just sitting, putting our life pause and just waiting for the major milestone to happen. We have to get out of that thinking, my life is going to be set once I find a person. No. No, it won't be. Your wholeness is the true flex. Being single is not a waiting room. It's the time for you to find out who you are, what your purpose is, what you like doing. It's a time for you to learn from your mistakes and get better. It's a time for you to just fail and fail some more and learn from those failures. It's a beautiful season when you get to learn why God manufactured you, why you're born this way. You were born to find your voice. He's molding you into the person that you were created to be. And all the other things that happens in your life that's external to you, it's just an add-on. It should not become the thing that you're like, oh, this is what's gonna make me complete. Being married is not the main course. I'm gonna say that again. Being married is not the main course. Being single and learning to gently be single and just be whole and no one else but God is the true flex, is the main course. Anything that happens after that is a cherry on top. Marriage is a blessing. It's not a savior. Jesus is. Wholeness is. Don't idolize the very thing that was meant to just support it.